All right, so we're diving deep today with Alex Alvarez.
Sounds good.
And not just one book, but two.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've got Chronicles of a Nomad,
Uh-huh.
which is his memoir, and then v2036, which is, well,
I was going to say, that one's fiction, right?
exactly. And it's actually a sequel,
Oh, interesting.
picking up decades after Chronicles ends.
Okay, so the big question is, how do they connect?
That's what we're here to find out.
I'm intrigued already.
Like thematically, character-wise, and especially
Actually.
what it all says about Venezuela.
Right, because that's the setting for both.
Yeah, both stories.
So where do we even begin?
Well, Chronicles lays the groundwork, right?
It's like our foundation.
Carlos Rodriguez's story, leaving Venezuela.
As a teenager, wasn't it?
Yeah, amidst all that political and economic turmoil.
Classic immigrant story, but with a Venezuelan twist.
It's more than just leaving, though.
You're right, it's that whole experience.
Culture shock in the U.S. being undocumented.
The hustle, the drive, building a life from scratch.
And you know what makes it even more interesting?
What's that?
Alvarez himself emigrated from Venezuela.
Oh, wow. So it's really personal.
Adds a whole other layer of authenticity.
But then v2036 flips everything.
Talk about a twist.
Carlos is successful now, a professional invited back.
Back to Venezuela.
Yeah, to advise the government on education reform.
Wow, so he's like the prodigal son?
But with a political edge, for sure.
And remember in Chronicles, that bit with the ticket?
The ticket.
Yeah, he almost burns his return ticket.
Oh, right. His dad stops him.
Exactly. And now in v2036, he's hesitant.
Makes sense, given his past.
He's cynical about going back. Like, is it even worth it?
I wonder if Alvarez is hinting at something there.
Like a disillusionment many immigrants feel.
Maybe it's that push and pull of identity.
Achieving the American dream, but then what about home?
Deep stuff, and it makes Carlos so much more complex.
He's not just some hero swooping in to fix things.
No, he's got baggage, his own successes, his struggles.
And that shapes how he sees Venezuela now.
Fascinating how Alvarez layers that in.
And speaking of layers, let's talk Bernardo Acosta.
Oh, yeah, Carlos's friend, right.
Childhood friend, and he plays a huge role in v2036.
We meet him in Chronicles first, though.
Briefly. Yeah, he's that mischievous kid.
Always getting into trouble, as I recall.
Now he's a major figure in the Venezuelan opposition.
What a change. From troublemaker to politician.
It's like Alvarez is using these contrasting personalities.
To show us different sides of Venezuelan society.
Exactly. You've got Carlos, the diaspora, who left.
Seeking opportunity elsewhere.
And then Bernardo, who stayed and fought for change from within.
Powerful contrast, those two paths.
And Bernardo's journey gets intense in v2036.
How so?
He gets shot protecting someone during a protest.
Oh, wow. Talk about dedication.
Shows how dangerous it is to challenge the status quo.
Really makes you think, what drives someone like that?
Idealism, desperation, or maybe just seeing injustice.
Maybe it's all of those things combined.
Like a lifetime of witnessing what's wrong.
And wanting to fix it no matter the cost.
And then we've got the real power players.
Oh, yeah. Who is she talking about?
General Elizar Massa Gallardo, he becomes president.
Okay, big figure.
And his daughter, Eleanor.
Interesting, the family dynamic there.
Elizar, fascinating. Pure ambition and power.
Alvarez gives us hints about his past, right?
Military background, the 1992 coup attempts.
I vaguely remember those.
And there's this chilling story. He disowns his brother.
His own brother. Why?
For not upholding military discipline. Imagine that.
Wow, that's intense.
Speaks volumes about his character, you know.
Like ruthlessness, maybe?
Maybe. Or just a rigid worldview, black and white.
Then you've got Eleanor, raised in all that power.
But she seems disillusioned by it, almost rebellious.
Classic child of privilege sees the other side.
And her relationship with Bernardo, that adds fuel to the fire.
He's opposition, she's the general's daughter.
Not just a love story, but clashing ideologies.
Within a family, mirroring what's happening in Venezuela.
Exactly. It's personal and political all at once.
Alvarez is a master at weaving those threads together.
Makes you think about how external forces impact us.
Like even our closest relationships are battlegrounds.
It's not just abstract ideas, it's people's lives.
And that's what makes v2036 so compelling.
It's not just a sequel, it's a reflection of reality.
How the past shapes the present for individuals, for nations.
Alvarez is saying, here's how we got here.
But then he leaves us with a question.
Where do we go from here?
Then that's the real cliffhanger. It's like Alvarez is setting up these parallel journeys, right?
Carlos coming back in, Bernardo never leaving?
Exactly. And one of the most striking themes,
Yeah, hit me with it.
it's the political corruption, just pervasive.
Oh, yeah, you really feel that.
How those in power manipulate everything, silencing dissent, clinging to control.
It's not just some abstract concept either.
No way.
Like, remember when Bernardo was organizing that protest?
Uh-huh.
Permits revoked, his phone's tapped, it's creepy.
Alvarez makes it visceral, that danger.
Of challenging the status quo, yeah, scary stuff.
And it ties right into the social inequality.
Oh, absolutely. That
Yeah.
chasm between the haves and have-nots.
Huge gulf. You see it everywhere.
Especially when Carlos visits Bernardo's neighborhood.
That scene was rough.
Crumbling infrastructure, lack of services, it's heartbreaking.
And then you cut to those lavish government parties.
It's like a slap in the face, that contrast.
Alvarez doesn't shy away from the economic crisis either.
No, people struggling, shortages, loss of hope, it's all there.
Behind the politics, real lives are falling apart.
And then there's the military, this looming presence,
Always there in the background.
both a force for stability and a tool of oppression.
It's unsettling, that duality.
Makes you wonder, who are they really serving?
The people or the government?
It's a tough question.
On one hand, they're guardians of order, stepping in during crisis.
But on the other hand, they silence dissent, enforce the will of the elite.
So much tension between order and freedom.
And yet, amidst all this, Alvarez doesn't forget the human side.
Right, like with Bernardo and Eleanor. Their love story, it's almost a microcosm of Venezuela.
Coming from opposite sides, families at odds.
But their love defies those boundaries, offers a sliver of hope.
Hope for reconciliation, even with all the division.
It's a beautiful but fragile hope,
Definitely. Their relationship faces constant pressure,
from their families, from society, even from within.
always making tough choices. Love versus loyalty.
It highlights the sacrifices demanded in times of upheaval.
Makes you think, can love really conquer all?
Or are some forces just too strong?
And then there's Carlos, coming back with his idealism.
Wants to reform education, empower the next generation.
But he hits a wall, those entrenched interests.
Corrupt officials, the elite, they don't want change.
His idealism gets tested constantly.
It's a battle against cynicism and despair, for sure.
His journey is that tension between wanting to do good.
And realizing the system is rigged against you.
How much can one person really change?
But what's interesting is Carlos finds allies in unexpected places.
People who seem opposed to his ideas, but then
They see his genuine desire to make things better.
it's like a testament to individual conviction.
Even in the most corrupt environments, common ground can exist.
It's subtle, but it's there, that possibility.
And that speaks to how nuanced Alvarez portrays Venezuela.
It's not black and white, good versus evil.
It's a web of competing interests, moral dilemmas.
Like that scene where Carlos has dinner with the corrupt official.
Oh yeah, the one who wants to help people but is also part of the problem.
Exactly. It captures that moral ambiguity perfectly.
Makes you realize even those who perpetuate a flawed system,
They can still want positive change. It's complicated.
it's about understanding the factors at play, not just judging.
Maybe that's one of the biggest takeaways from v2036.
Confronting uncomfortable truths, looking beyond easy answers.
It's a call to action, to engage with complexity. And maybe that's the point, right?
To spark a conversation, get people thinking.
Yeah, it's not about pointing fingers or easy solutions.
It's about understanding, right?
And that hope you mentioned, that really lingers.
It's there, even with all the darkness, the complexity.
I think that's where Chronicles and v2036 connect so powerfully.
How so?
In Chronicles, Carlos leaves, rejects his past, wants a new life.
Right, the classic immigrant story.
But v2036 pulls him back. He has to confront those issues.
It's like a full circle moment.
He's not just some successful guy coming back to show off.
No, there's more to it.
He's got this deeper understanding now of himself, of Venezuela.
Maybe you need that distance to see things clearly.
Like to appreciate your roots, the good and the bad.
And that ties into the personal growth we see in both books.
Oh yeah, Carlos, from disillusioned teen to a man who, well,
He still believes in change, even with all his cynicism.
it's like life beat him down, but he's not giving up.
And Bernardo, too, his transformation is amazing.
From troublemaker to activist, risking his life.
It's that lived experience, seeing injustice firsthand.
It fuels him, that desire for a better world.
And Eleanor, caught between her father's legacy and her own hopes.
It's a tough spot to be in.
She represents that whole generation dealing with the past.
Trying to create their own future amidst all the division.
It's like each character embodies a part of Venezuela.
But Alvarez doesn't make them simple. you know,
No, they're flawed, complex, making tough choices.
just like real people.
And that's what's so brilliant about V2036, I think.
What do you mean?
It's not about giving answers or picking sides.
It's about making us think.
About these complex issues, our own role in things.
Remember the ending. Carlos facing that uncertain future.
Yeah, it's open-ended, kind of unsettling.
On purpose, though, right?
I think Alvarez is asking us, what do you think happens next?
It's an invitation to keep the conversation going.
To engage with these issues in the real world.
Because they're not just in the book, they're happening now.
We all have a part to play in shaping the outcome.
So if you're looking for a read that'll challenge you.
Intellectually, emotionally, even morally.
These two books are It, Chronicles, and V2036.
They're a window into Venezuela, the struggles, the resilience.
And that reminder that even in uncertainty, hope endures.
The fight for a better future is always worth it.
Well said. And on that note, we wrap up this deep dive
Into the world of Alex Alvarez.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time.